Tonight we continue our series of interviews with candidates in the city election November 7th. Our guest is one of 8 candidates running for City Councilor at Large. We'd like to welcome Domingos DaRosa.
Thanks for having me, Chris.
Thank you very much for being with us. Domingos, you've got some background both in youth sports and working for the city. Tell us a little bit about that.
I started working for the city when I was 16. I was hired by the Flynn administration as a lifeguard at the Mason Pool. I was grateful enough to Miss Harris, who is part of the community.
You mean Elfrida Harris?
Elfrida Harris, of course, great Miss Harris. She was able to give me a summertime job working at the Mason Pool as one of the lifeguards. And then from there, another coordinator who heard about me through Miss Harris wound up giving me a position as a full-time lifeguard during school hours, and I was able to work at the Marshall School and the Harlan School and was able to provide these services to the children of that community.
Well, you've raised a family, you got 4 children, and you've also run a football league, a youth football league. So tell us a little bit about doing that.
I'm a father of 4, been married for about 12 years. I run the Boston Bengals Pop Warner program that comes out of the South Bay area at Clifford Park. Guys from the neighborhood, we call it Prairie Park. That's a park I grew up in when I was a kid. It's funny how I became, the president of the program. I walked in as the F-team coach, and then the next thing you knew, I walked out the president because the program was in shambles. So, I did a little bit of work, not a lot, but a little bit of work to bring it back to a point where we can actually operate and provide the service to the kids in the community. It's a day-to-day task.
Well, now that we have a city council with only 4 candidates at large, that really raises the bar pretty high for fundraising and campaign efforts. So why did you decide to take on the challenge?
A group of kids that I mentor, kids that play with the program, had asked me a question during practice. They were in a group just talking about the election with the president, and they had made a comment saying, "How come you don't run? You do more for us than he would do." I said, "Well, you know what? I'm not really a politician." They said, "You should try it. You always telling us to try something new. Why don't you try it?" So months went by, and I kept thinking about it. And I speak to my son Jason, and he's like, "Well, it doesn't hurt if you try." I said, "Okay, you know what?" I went in, put in the documents, and was able to collect the signatures I needed to get on the ballot for November 7th.
Well, it's been a while since you graduated from Madison Park Vocational and Technical High School, but the school is still struggling. So what would you like to do about that?
It's funny you say that, because when I first entered Madison Park in '92, the school was being was looked at to be taken over and sold to Wentworth. And we happened to walk in, and we did a walkout, and we all went down to City Hall and we protested it. And our oath, good faith, and our Mayor Menino, he sat in with us and spoke to us about it and told us what they were trying to do and what we can do to turn the school around and help the school as students. So we went back and, we got our grades together. We brought up the graduation rate. We did the things that were asked of us. Now I would like to go back to that. I would like to go back to allowing the students who want to be at Madison Park versus students who are just placed there. That's one of the issues I see with Madison Park. It's not a placement school. So a lot of students that go there, they don't want to take the trades. They're just taking the ride. Where we can make it, in the 7th grade, we can start filtering students out who want to be placed in the trade. Students that want to take the opportunity that's given to them versus just placing anyone there. And that will help increase the participation in, the school sports. The academics will go up. The graduation will go up. And we can take the school from a Tier 4 school and bring it back to where it needs to be, along with the support of the unions in Boston, because Boston is a trade town, but we don't have any jobs coming out of there for the students who place themselves at a higher grade average than others, where we can see the ones that want to be there and take the advantage of that, and we're not doing that as a city.
There has been some budget cutting at the school, but Mayor Walsh recently said that it's hard to increase funding if the enrollment is down. So how do you reverse that? Well,
this is how I look at it. The budget is cut in the last 4 years. Every year has been cut, every school season. That's due to the city council.
And state funding also being cut.
The state funding, but it's being reallocated. It's not like the money is being taken out and it's not being used anywhere else. The money's being taken out of one budget and put into another budget. If we continue to do that, we're going to increase the dropout rate. We're not going to be able to provide these children with the services they need from kindergarten all the way up to high school.
This is BNN News, and we're talking with Domingos DaRosa, a candidate for City Council at Large. Domingos, a lot of neighborhoods right now, the talk is about housing, how expensive it is, and how much more affordable units we need. What would you like to see done?
Housing is a tough situation. I'm a renter, so I'm going through the same process as half the city. We're going year to year on leases. We're hoping our landlords don't increase the rent unreasonable with the market rate that's going on in Boston now. I own a small business. I do construction and property maintenance, and I get a lot of the emails from my clients who are trying to promote other properties along with their little network. And $3,600 for a 3-bedroom in Savin Hill is impossible for anyone who's making under $60,000 to $70,000 a year to afford. So my biggest thing is, it's not just an issue with the amount of the fees that landlords are charging. It's the education we're providing students in Boston. So we're giving students educations just good enough to get over the hump. We need to provide them with education where we can have them come out here and compete and make the median income, the 70 to 100,000 a year. Most individuals only make $24,000 a year on a $11 an hour salary. So it's impossible for you to pay a $36,000 a year rent fee when you're only making $24,000. So a lot of folks are being forced out because of that. And we can fix some of that by increasing, what we teach in school, by increasing our graduation rates. A lot of the housing issue, again, we can change percentages on new construction. So we have, instead of 13% of low income, we can move it up to double to 26% income. Another thing that I see is we haven't had a housing development developed by the city in years. So we don't have any public housing that's owned and operated by the city. And if that's something that we can bring back with, Amazon wants to come to Boston, we need 300 affordable low-income units on your dime.
Interesting. Turning to violent crime. Crime in general is down in Boston, but there's more gun violence, more shootings, and even somewhat more homicides. What should be done about the gun violence?
Well, first, we need actual numbers. Because it doesn't make sense when you say the violence is down, but then the murder's up, the gun violence is up. So me as a concerned community member, I like to see more programs along with the ones that we are already providing merge. The city has programs that they provide, but they're not merging with other departments. For example, like the school department and BCYF, they're both ran by the city. One offers recreation programs to community members across the city, from youth to families. But a lot of the programs are only offered after 1:30. They're not being offered to the children in school who are committing these violence. If we were able to overlap the programs where community centers will actually come in and provide the swimming classes, the school basketball team, the school swim team, the school volleyball team, or any other programs that they can bring in, computer classes because they have computer instructors, youth workers to work with students in the school who are kind of falling off but needs a little bit of more motivation to stay on track, youth workers who can actually work with middle school and high school students who are already being looked at as youth who are targeted by the court system, who have truancies, who are not going to school, and we can identify them before they become key players in the violence in Boston. But that's not what's going on. A lot of that what's going on is it's one department versus the next. It's not about money. The money's there. These departments are already funded. It's just about merging them and having them come together and work collaboratively.
Thank you very much for being with us. We should finally ask you, Domingos, you have a Facebook page with information about your campaign?
Yes, and I have a Facebook page, Domingos DaRosa, and I also have one that's Domingos DaRosa At-Large. You can visit me on either or. I'm easy to be found. I have my website is DaRosaAtLarge.org. I'm in the community. A lot of the folks within my community are pushing me to stay on this race because of the issues that we have that are not being addressed. Issues that we have in our community that are not the topics at certain tables. And, I like to say that at the end of the day, we are one city. And for us to be Boston strong, councilors at large need to cross the boundaries. They need to support the city as a whole versus one area than the other. Folks, have reached out to me after this primary and said, hey, this area had more votes than this area. And I said, it's a great thing that this area votes and this one doesn't. So we need to concentrate on the one that doesn't to increase voter participation. And that's one thing that I'm out here trying to do.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you, Chris.
Domingos DaRosa, candidate for Boston City Council at Large.